We are proud to partner with such great advertisers, but our title advertiser is the best. Chick-fil-A. They have, of course, amazing chicken sandwiches. We all know that. But one of the things that I think people fail to realize is they also are an outstanding catering company. We're fortunate enough to enjoy Chick-fil-A at the Collinsville Holiday Tournament every year. They have a Chick-fil-A night, also at the Bevel East Tournament. And they can do, platters of whatever you need. It's an amazing deal. So go online at chickfila.com and take a look at some of the options for the catering. It's a holiday season. You've got Thanksgiving coming up. You've got Christmas coming up. Give mom a night off. Give the kitchen a rest, and order some Chick-fil-A. Thanks again to Dave Holmes and the entire team there at Chick-fil-A in Fairview Heights. That's where we want you to check them out, right there by the Target store. We got that right, wasn't it? It was right by the Target store. Did we figure that out?
No, it's down the block.
Down the block, about a block down south of or north of the Target store. Check them out in Fairview Heights. Chick-fil-A, the best chicken in the world on every day but Sunday.
One-time world's heavyweight champion Danny Pounder's here. And when the Pound Man puts his name on something, you know it's the very best. So anytime you see that 618 high school huddle scroll across your marquee, just remember, you're listening to the #1 podcast in all the world.
Welcome to the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by Jim Thompson, Scott Warren, and AJ Thompson. And as you just heard, we are proud to announce that this is the #1 podcast in all the land.
No, it's not.
Shut up, man. It sounds better when I say it this way. The #1 podcast in all the land.
Nope, not even close.
Shut up, man. The #1 podcast is the 618 High School Huddle, and here we go.
Not even in the top 100,000.
We're snowbound. We're all going to stay here. We're going to broadcast all night throughout Snowmageddon 2019.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like where you all are. Here in Monroe County, we have been hammered by 1 3/4 inches of snow. And literally, ones of cars have had trouble moving around in the snow.
More to come, though, apparently.
Yeah, okay, but let's relax. I mean, do we need a winter storm warning? Let's relax, everybody. But anyway, we're here for you, episode number 42 of the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by BigRedWorld.org. We got a lot to talk about. Managed to get to numerous gymnasiums over the last 4 or 5 days, and got to see sort of a wide array of basketball. Would that be fair to state?
Yeah, that's fair. Right.
Mean. Let's just go ahead and jump right in and talk about yesterday. First of all, unbelievable hospitality at the Edwardsville Scott Credit Union shootout. The food was awesome. If Earl Austin would not have been down in Birmingham, I think he'd have given it a 5 thumbs up or whatever. What does Earl do?
I don't know.
He does some kind of hospitality review.
Oh, does he really?
Well, if you ever met Earl, he likes to eat.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was man, the hospitality room was great. You know what my favorite part of that room was?
I got an idea, but go ahead.
Sitting with those refs.
Listening to
them we're not going to say who they were, but we sat at a table with 3 or 4 of my favorite officials, officials that I've had the pleasure of being a coach and having on my games, officials that have worked high-profile events throughout this area, and it was very interesting to hear them talk about what they were there seeing. And they weren't working. The guys that I'm talking about in particular weren't working that night, but it was really fun. And to the athletic director, Alex Fox, is that correct? I'm sorry, Scott made the contact for us. We appreciate the amazing hospitality. We got there for the second session. We were busy during the day. I had to cut down a Christmas tree.
Huh.
That was fun.
Okay.
Dad, didn't they invent Christmas tree lots so people wouldn't have to drive all the way out to nowhere and waste a whole Saturday?
They invented them, Russ, because people forgot how to have a fun, old-fashioned family Christmas and are satisfied with scrawny, dead, overpriced trees that have no special meaning.
My toes are numb.
You see, kids, this is what our forefathers did.
I can't feel my leg.
They walked out into the woods, they picked out that special tree, and they cut it down with their bare hands.
Mom, I can't feel my hips.
Clark,
Yes, honey?
Audrey's frozen from the waist down.
That's all part of the experience, honey.
Well, it's a family tradition.
No, okay.
And Hank Williams Jr., he sang about family traditions a lot.
He did?
Yeah, it's a lot about, mostly about drinking and smoking. But we cut down a Christmas tree in our house and put it up, and we get sap all over everything and pine needles everywhere. And,
Right.
and the dog usually takes a leak on it right after we put it up.
That's why we have an artificial tree.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
going back to the sitting with the officials for a second, it was interesting because you don't think about this, that to hear them talk about, boy, this player looks like they're going to be really good, or that team's terrible, or this coach is awful, or this coach is good. That was funny to hear that banter back and forth.
it was funny, yes. It was not surprising. Like the coach, they brought up one particular coach and they said, man, this guy is awful. And we agreed.
Yeah.
That was an easy one.
Sure.
I mean, Colin, it was easy. You know? I'm just saying.
I need to burst in here for a second.
Oh, you're bursting?
Johnny Colbert tweeted at you.
Oh, he did?
Yes. Hey gents, you should broadcast live Saturday, February 15th when my hometown Pinckneyville Panthers host Nashville. What would be better radio than interviewing hashtag Johnny C at the place where it all began?
Okay, done.
Now,
I mean,
now what John needs to know is that we're going to be in Nashville after the first of the year. I think it's the 10th. Mm-hmm. Yeah, shoot out the 11th. So the 10th, we're going to Nashville and they play Pinckneyville. So we could do the opposite.
Hey, absolutely. So John, we're there.
We're in.
And it's funny, as we watched Pinckneyville play yesterday, I thought a little bit about John and
unbelievable.
It's got to be tough for him, to be in the position he's in, and I think he would love to see that kind of basketball, that kind of.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean,
he's not seeing it.
They were incredible. They played a hell of a game at the end of the day. I think both teams, or in Pinckneyville, had plenty of opportunities to win in at the end of regulation and in both overtimes. And yeah, if I'm Coach Wagner, I don't like the loss, but at the end of the day, I can sit there and say, okay,
I can play with
anybody in the state.
And here's the deal. We analyzed. So John, to your point, we'll take you up on that offer, and we will see you there on February the 15th. Considered a done deal. I can't wait. Duster Thomas Gymnasium is one of my favorite places in all of Southern Illinois, as is Assembly Hall in Nashville,
right,
as is the arena in Oakville. But no offense to Mr. Fox at Edwardsville, I'm not a big fan of the sightlines at Edwardsville.
Yeah,
a little tough for the media there. But the bottom line is, we'll take you up on your offer. If you're saying, hey, you should go watch Bob Wagner coach a basketball game, I'd go watch him coach a basketball game in the Philippines. This guy is worth the price of admission. And oh, by the way, so is Lou Adams.
Right.
The Chicago War coach. There are things that I will always complain about when it comes to Chicago War. The roster turnover is kind of sickening. There are 5 kids on this year's team that were on last year's team.
Correct.
Everybody else is new, including 3 seniors.
Right.
That played, we have to assume, somewhere else last year.
Yeah.
And if we were in the Chicago area, if we were Michael O'Brien or one of the guys that were plugged in, or Rick Tellender, we would be able to tell you who the transfers were. They are explosive. They are quick. what I like about Coach Adams is he doesn't complain about the officiating.
No, I'd tell you who the transfers were too if there was a picture, but there's no team.
Well, let's show. Can we do that? Can we? So here is. Let's share with you the team photo of the Chicago Ore Spartans. Can they see that? You think? What if I do that?
There you go. Now you can see it. No photo available.
So we've got all these teams that were in this shootout yesterday, and they didn't have a photo available. And I don't know if that's because they weren't sure who was going to be on the team. There's some names that we remember from last year. The Splunge kid is fun to watch, super athletic. But here's the deal. If you go back and you watch that game, if you have the way to do that, Pinckneyville really should have won that game both at the end of regulation and at the end of the first overtime. They had layups and didn't convert. They were not easy layups. There were no uncontested shots in this game for either team. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I thought when Pinckneyville made their run to state last year, man, it's going to stink because they're going to lose a lot. They're going to lose a lot of players.
And they did.
It's like a freaking machine.
Well, yeah, we just reloaded, and then we'll be good. Dre
Scott, super athletic, kind of a forward, I guess, call him a 3. Dawson Yates can handle the ball with anybody, and I will say this: I saw Lou Adams, and I overheard him talking to some media people, and he said that team is a problem, and I don't think he wants to see Pinckneyville in March.
No.
Because I don't think he thinks that he can get them the next time. Or I've talked about on this program numerous times. I've asked you to please go out and Google search A Shot in the Dark. It's a 5-part series as well as a documentary about the Chicago Ore basketball team. And even if you're the most hardened basketball person that just absolutely hates Chicago basketball because of the open borders thing and all that, it's hard to read that with a dry eye or watch that documentary with a dry eye. These are kids from backgrounds that you don't understand, most of you. And they are kids that don't really have a place to practice all the time, that, there's just a lot of nonsense. They've almost all lost somebody to gun violence. The only thing I have to worry about is whether or not my wife cuts her finger with a paring knife accidentally when she's slicing up peppers.
Okay.
That's it. That's my biggest concern. Well, that and if AJ's going to trip and fall.
Well, you shouldn't be concerned about that because that's a given.
Right, good point. So I should be used to that. I mean, the fact is that these kids live a life that we can't understand, and thank God we can't. But Lou Adams has really done a great job of getting them to buy in. He's a disciplinarian, doesn't put up with a lot of nonsense. And I'm telling you, I don't know that the calls always went his way. I think there were several calls that he got jobbed on a little bit. And you know what he did? He yelled at his kids for fouling and not playing defense with their feet and playing with their hands. He would say to a kid, "Don't look at me. You traveled."
Right.
A couple of times he got frustrated.
Yeah.
But at no point did we hear him say, "We drove 400 miles for this."
No, that was later.
Oh, that was in the other game. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Right. So Chicago Ore beats Pinckneyville in double overtime. I could have watched 5 more overtimes. It was a fantastic basketball game. I'm going to call it right now, and this is going to upset the Nashville people. But until I see otherwise, Pinckneyville's the best 2A team we've seen.
Well, what's interesting with the reclassification this year, 2A is crazy. It's bananas. I mean, we're going to have...
We haven't seen Mater Day.
No. And we've got so many good teams that unfortunately, at some point, probably sooner rather than later, are going to be picking each other off.
Well,
once regionals roll out.
In Pinckneyville and Nashville, you hope, if it's like it's been in the past, that they will go different directions.
That'd be nice.
And wouldn't see each other until later, but you never know. The IHSA may put them in the same regional, for God's sakes.
Well, we've seen that stuff before.
You've got Mater Day that's going to be in the mix. You better throw Central into the mix. And don't forget about Columbia and Freeburg. They're now in 2A.
Right.
And I think Columbia is a team that is still kind of figuring things out now that Sam Horner's back.
New coach, new system.
New coach, new system, but they've got some impressive victories. And Colin actually reminded us, we saw Freeburg Tuesday night, and I think Coach Lauer, my guess is as soon as they got back to Freeburg, he practiced for 3 hours that night. They were not particularly sharp. They
not after the first quarter.
The first quarter, they dominated. We saw them play Waterloo, and Waterloo took a 4-point lead in the last couple minutes of the game, and Freeburg won by 5. Luke Irvey hit a 3 with a hand in his face, and the kid is just, as I said on Twitter, it feels like we've been watching him for 8 years, and that was a total compliment to Luke Irvey. And then he went off for 21 the next night, or the next game they played. But Freeburg is one of those teams. They've got a little bit of size. Blumenkamp, I think is the kid's name, that doubles almost every night, and they're going to be an issue, and they're going to get better. And Columbia is going to be a bit of an issue. Freeburg's knocked off Oakville. Granted, it's a 1A team, but
That's a good win.
It's a good win. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But without a doubt, south of Springfield, we haven't seen anything like Pinckneyville.
No.
It is an offense that runs like a machine. They hit the boards absolutely with ferocity that you just haven't seen at the 2A level. And then you throw this Dre Scott in there, and this kid is athletic. He can get off the floor. He had a really nice dunk on a breakaway. And then you've got Bob Wagner mastering the puppet strings, which is never a bad thing. Had a chance to shake his hand after the game and talk to him a little bit, and he said, "Hey, it's a loss. It happens.
Yeah,
we'll get better." Okay,
come on,
you're going to get better,
right?
Well, you probably are, but good luck then to all the rest of the 2A teams.
Yeah,
because wow, they're good.
And that's coach speak, obviously, but deep down, I mean, again,
the loss was fresh.
Besides the loss, he's got to be thinking and telling his staff, okay, we're in a pretty good spot.
But that's when we talk about high school coaching. That's what high school coaching is.
Oh, sure.
That's what a high school coach looks like.
Right.
That's the respect level that you get when you do things the right way. That's the respect level you get when you truly have culture, because that's what they have there. Brent Brady at Westland had a couple of nice wins for them. Brent, there's no BS with Brent. They just play, right? They just play. There's no fancy nonsense, and these are the guys that we really enjoyed. It was great to hear the officials that we talked to, and these are
guys have been around for a while.
Well, actually, I'm thinking of the guys I'm looking at. I believe 3 of them were Hall of Famers. 3 of the 4 were Hall of Famers, and we're talking about guys that were dead on with the coaches that are complete strokes, and the coaches that are really, really well respected in the area, and they nailed it. So congratulations, officials. You know who you are. Let's do this. How's our time looking?
You guys got 5 minutes left. You also have another tweet.
Oh, fire away.
So Johnny Culpert has another one. So I responded to his tweet that we would be there.
Sure.
And his response to that was, I can line you up with interviews with a couple of the most tried and true #Panther fans you ever wanted to meet. Not to mention it is guaranteed to be a battle of 2 of the top-ranked basketball teams in 2A in front of nearly 3,000 fans.
Yeah, he's right on all accounts.
Yeah.
Can he tell you any more?
Yeah, John, hey, listen. John, here's how good you are, just so you know. And this is why we're burying the hatchet and you and I are going to be buddies. I eat corn on a daily basis now because of you. I'm teaching agriculture at a private school because of you. I only put E85 fuel in my vehicle. Well, actually I don't. That's a lie. I'm sorry. I don't have a car anymore because I teach at a private school. But we're sold, and you are correct. First of all, we'll take him up on these longtime fans. I'm all in on that. He's correct. There will be 3,000 people there. It will be absolutely bananas. And if you folks have never been in Pinckneyville's gym, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. By everything we've seen, that's going to probably be the conference championship game.
Probably.
depending now, if Pinckneyville gets Nashville at Nashville, where there will also be 3,000 fans.
Correct.
It'll be interesting. But yeah, John, we're in. It sounds great. And I'm going to see John. Apparently, he's the new ag teacher that's taken my spot while I move into different regions of the school has already reached out to John. He's going to come speak at Jabot.
Awesome.
Which I think will be fun to hear.
Yeah.
One of the great lobbyists slash promoters of farming and especially corn and ethanol that we have and I'm talking about in the country. We're not talking about in the area. The guy is absolutely amazing. He could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Always in DC, I know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking forward to talking to him. So John will take you up on it. I say you pick us up and we'll ride with you.
Okay.
Well, why not?
Why not?
I mean, come on, let's
Right.
do this the right way. I wonder if they tailgate down there.
Maybe.
Remember, we had some issues in Pinckneyville, you and I.
We did?
Well, no, I don't mean issues, but, or was that DuQuoin? That might have been DuQuoin. But I think it was Pinckneyville. We got there early, about 5 o'clock, either last year or the year before,
Yeah.
and we literally could not find a place to get a drink.
Oh, where was that? Yeah, that was one of the two places.
It was either
Pinckneyville.
Pinckney. I think it was Pinckneyville because I think we looked it up and there was a place in DuQuoin, and you know, not that we have a problem, but we have considered running over to DuQuoin and having a margarita. We finally found a Mexican place in Pinckneyville.
That's right. Yeah, it was.
And we ate at that Mexican place because they
That's
have
right.
because they have really good Mexican food.
They did.
I just say it. So, John, you're gonna have to hook us up with a place to do a little pregame.
We'll go back there.
That's fine with me. But he probably knows a speakeasy.
Oh, he might.
Or something down there.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
He's tied in.
So that's going to be our deal. When we come back, we've got a couple of things. First of all, we've talked about one of the two games that we attended yesterday, and that was the double overtime game between Chicago War and Pinckneyville. Wait till we tell you about Morgan Park and Collinsville, and some of the things coming up where we're going to be in the next few weeks. I also want to talk about. I've got a sad story, I guess you call it that, but.
It's awful.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And it's not far from here. Sometimes we'll have stories from New Jersey or Arizona. This is from Jacksonville, Illinois. So very close to us. And we're going to talk a little bit about what happened up there in the last few days. And talk about some other things. And if you've got a topic out there you'd like us to cover, I don't have a bowling update this week.
Aw.
Well, I went to a couple of, well, you went.
Yeah. I did.
We'll cover that.
Okay.
When we come back, you're watching the High School Huddle, hosted by BigRedWorld.org. Buying or selling a home doesn't have to be fraught with danger or doesn't have to be a miserable experience. Mandy McGuire out of Columbia, Illinois, with Keller Williams Realty does it better than anybody that I know. She's not just a great real estate agent, she's a great true partner. Because the way Mandy looks at her customers is she really is in the business with you on selling or purchasing your next home. Her website, movewithmandy.com, is filled with videos and ideas on how to improve the curb appeal of your home. It's filled with videos and tours of houses that are available in the area for sale. Nobody will do it better. She does it with a smile. Her staff is outstanding. We had her on the show here. She's just an electric personality and cares a lot about high school athletics, her and her husband Josh both. Mandy McGuire, nobody does it better than Keller Williams Realty out of Columbia, Illinois. I just heard Jenny's phone go off.
So we know we're doing it right. Maybe.
We don't want to make this the whole bowling segment, do we?
We'll talk about as much as you want.
Nope, that's enough.
Okay, moving on.
Nah, we'll talk about it. But let's do this just for continuity's sake. We're going to finish talking about the shootout yesterday that we attended. We went to the Edwardsville Scott Credit Union shootout. We watched an unbelievable matchup with Pinckneyville and Chicago War. Incredible. And I was like, well, I think that's as good as it gets. You get a double overtime game, two legendary programs. Then you get to watch Morgan Park play Collinsville. And I'm going to be totally honest, No offense to Paco, but I haven't bought into the Collinsville hype yet.
Thought they were going to be good, but didn't know how good because they really haven't played anybody yet. So
no, and there's even a thing kind of on Twitter I read last night that, there's this, I guess, sort of misrepresentation that Collinsville can't play with Chicago schools. And I think in the past there's some truth to that. They would get to a certain point and then they would run into, a Chicago King or Westinghouse or Bloom Township or somebody like that, Whitney Young, and they would get taken apart.
Right.
So you've got Morgan Park. Now they're 3A. That's the scary part.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Where it's unbelievable. A lot of new faces at Morgan Park. You've got Nick Irvin, who is the head coach. He runs the Mac Irvin Fire summer program, or AAU team, whatever you want to call it. Traveling basketball circus. Mac Irvin was his father, legendary Chicago figure in basketball. And Nick has done an amazing job at Morgan Park. They have more. They had to add 6 seats to their bench for all the people, the assistant coaches and the hangers-on. And then they had a really interesting assistant coach who sat actually behind them, but then sort of joined. A guy
named, might know a thing or two about basketball.
Well, he was kind of good. A guy named Mark Aguirre. And I have to say it that way because when we said it to Colin earlier, we go, hey, have you ever heard of Mark Aguirre? He goes, yeah, I know Mark Aguirre. No, not Mark Aguirre. Mark Aguirre, the Chicago Westinghouse superstar who went on to star at DePaul and was the #1 overall pick in 1981.
In fairness, I did guess that.
Well, that's amazing.
You did say he was #1 pick. I'll give you that.
I got the names mixed up, but I did get the.
Yeah, you get the #1 pick right.
Yeah. Well, it's still. I applaud you for even whether you guessed or not. It's amazing. He went on. He was the #1 pick for the Mavericks. Kind of journeyed around, but really made a name for himself with the Pistons. Won a couple of NBA championships. A guy that, for an undersized guy, when I say undersized, we're talking 6'3", 6'4", right? I don't think he was much over that. I mean, I stood right there next to him, and I felt like we were making eye contact. But he had a very large feature.
Yes, he did back in the day.
I mean, you want to talk about junk in the trunk? Mark Aguirre had the biggest ass in the history of the NBA. I mean, bigger than Barkley. And he would back people down with that thing and then drop a fadeaway on you. He was incredible to watch. And what I didn't know about him, I didn't realize he was from Chicago, first of all. I didn't know until last night. And then we actually had to look up to see that he was from Chicago Westinghouse College Prep. And went on to DePaul, and just a great NBA player. Looks a little beat up.
Well, yeah. I mean, when he played, everybody actually played 82 games, not 60.
You don't think there was load management?
No.
Okay.
I do not.
And do you think that they played like actual defense?
Yes. They played at both ends.
Did they actually call traveling?
They did.
Okay. So it was the real NBA, not this nonsense that the kids at my school are watching.
He'd average 35 points a game if he was in his prime today.
Oh my God. He just turned 60 about 2 weeks ago, and he looks fantastic. He was signing autographs. We got an opportunity to shake his hand, and all, it would have been, I guess, kind of okay to get a picture, but all I wanted to do was the same thing you did, is shake his hand and say, we really enjoyed watching you play the game the right way, because it's not played the right way in the NBA anymore.
No. And it's trickling down, by the way.
Oh boy, is it ever. So he has some connection to Morgan Park. We haven't figured out what it is, but there were several timeouts during the game where Mark Aguirre is in there. And, I know that Rick Moss, the legendary local guy, I say local guy, legendary Iowa assistant and then head coach at Centralia, he was very instrumental in getting Paul Lusk to go to Iowa, Paul Lusk Jr., very close to the Lusk family. Rick Moss was very instrumental in putting the shootout together. He has a Rolodex that we couldn't touch. We know, like I know Chip Nicastro.
Okay.
And I know Alvin Miller. We know Mike Young.
We know Mike Young.
That's kind of where it started. Well, wait, I interviewed Dana Howard. We had Dana Howard in studio. I got a picture with him. Rick Moss knows everybody. And it was interesting when they actually had to eject a couple of fans from this game. And instead of going to security or to the police, they went to Rick.
He marched right over there.
And he marched right over it. Now, Rick's probably, I don't want to do him wrong here, but I'm guessing Rick is 65 maybe.
I think it's fair.
And he walked over there and told these two dudes, we're done. Yeah. You're out. And
thanks for coming.
And they were gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a couple of disparaging remarks.
Right.
They used the female dog name. But anyway, here's the thing I want to tell you. Nick Irvin is a very good basketball coach. I have a real problem with what we saw when we first got to the gym. So we got to the gym, we went up to the media area where we ended up deciding not to sit. Got to see Chris Birch.
We did.
A good buddy of ours from back in the Dupo days. He's got a kid that's a freshman at Belleville East. Chris is a big fan of our show, and we appreciate all the nice things he had to say. Most of them had to be lies, because I mean,
of course, he knows who we are.
Yeah. We didn't like the sidelines there, so we moved over. Well, no, we were still there, I think.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
so they played the national anthem for the Chicago or Pinckneyville game. And there's a basketball team that, at first, I didn't identify it as Morgan Park. I wasn't sure who they were. And 8 kids.
We counted.
Did not get up for the national anthem.
They did not.
And it wasn't like they kneeled. They just sat back like this, and they were talking. They were on their phones.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I know that we live in that speech is free. I get that. Thank God it is, because we use that all the time here. But boy, that offended the hell out of me.
I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all.
You know, I don't know what it's like to be black in America. I really don't. I know that surprises all of you, but I don't. I don't know what kind of oppression that they've faced in Chicago. I don't know what it's like to walk into an elevator and have a woman cover her purse up because she thinks you're going to steal. I don't know what that's like, and I apologize for that. But to sit there and be so disrespectful to our national anthem that is the symbol of our freedom, boy,
yeah, and I'm not even going to go down the race road. I don't care.
Well, these were all African American
right,
players.
But I don't care who it would have been. I'd have been just as outraged. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's a real issue.
It was funny. I made eye contact with one of the kids, and I think you might have too. And it was almost like he said, "Uh-oh, people are looking at us," and he stood up. And I didn't pay attention to what number it was. I don't know who it was.
Right.
But I was like, okay, so not that gave him a pass, but at least he realized the error of his ways, and he knows he's there's 3,000 people there.
Well, yeah, they were surrounded by people. It wasn't like they were sitting there by themselves. It's crazy just to be that cavalier with it.
And to me, I'm holding Nick Irvin responsible for that. He wasn't anywhere to be found. This was the kids all sitting together, but I just don't think that's the right time to make a statement, if that's what they were trying to do.
I don't think there was any statement being made. I just think it's just a complete lack of awareness. That
John Coppert's going to love this part.
That is inexcusable. I think there's plenty of blame to go around. You're old enough to know what you should be doing at that time as a player. That's a coaching issue. And that's an issue that starts at the home, too. So there's plenty of blame to go around.
And the other thing I'm going to add to that is these are 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids. Let's just go ahead and honor the national anthem. Stand up. You don't have to put your hand over your heart. Just stand up.
Because I never did during a game. I stood there with my hands behind my back.
Yeah, I did, too. I did that. And here's the thing. When you become a professional and you're on a professional team and you want to make statements, that's your business. You've got sponsors to answer to. You've got your team to answer to. I don't need statements out of 16-year-old kids.
Well, oh, by the way, good luck with that because the NBA says you will stand for the national.
Right, absolutely. This is not the time or the place. A high school shootout is not the time or place to behave like that, and that rubbed me the wrong way, and I know it rubbed you the wrong way.
I'm not down with that at all.
So that's the bad part of what we saw last night. It's aggravating. Now let's move on and talk about the actual basketball, because I'm going to tell you right now, the difference between Chicago Orr, who's a very, very good basketball team, and Chicago Morgan Park is fundamentally sound. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
They make their free throws.
They do.
They run offense.
They do.
They play incredible defense. They got a freshman on that team that played legitimate 20, 25 minutes and is obviously a Division I player. We were introduced, now I've seen, and you have too, we've seen Adam Miller play back when he was a freshman and a sophomore. He was Ayo Dosunmu's running mate when Ayo was still at Morgan Park, and Adam was just a sophomore. He is the most coveted guy. I said draft pick. I didn't mean that. Most coveted recruit in the state of Illinois by far.
Probably got a good chance to be Mr. Basketball.
I think he has to be based on what I've seen so far. We've still got some more teams to see. Bloom Township has some amazing players, but wow, this kid is really special. And he
left-handed, smooth.
Whoa. Through 4 quarters, I had him at about 70% from the floor.
And Colin, he's taking 20-footers. I mean, he's not at the rim. He's out there. You know, he's taking
in your eye.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you're up on me, I might do this. He'll dribble a couple of times and then step back and shoot a 3. Tremendous strength. Makes passes that actually his own team can't really handle. And he's committed to Illinois, going to Illinois. Wants to be with, I love that. Highland Shootout, by the way.
Oh.
What?
So I'm glad you mentioned that. You actually got a tweet from Matt Powers.
That's my buddy.
Nice looking shirt, Jim.
Yeah, Matt, I'm not stupid. I know where my bread is buttered.
Well, Matt, I'd wear one if I had one, but I don't have one, so.
Well,
I don't rate. I don't rate. That's cool.
You're not the PA.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that's a good point. Matt, if you could you hook him up with an XL this year, please? The fact is that this kid, Adam Miller, is incredible. He's also everything I look for in a player, and that he doesn't get too high on, when he shoots a 3 and makes it, he doesn't do this.
No, he doesn't run down the court holding.
Doesn't go like this.
Yeah, no, there's none of that.
And even, no offense, but even Jason Tatum occasionally would do that.
And that annoyed me.
Not a big fan of that.
Right, no.
Adam Miller will sit there and drop a 3 right in your face
and
then go down and play defense.
Right.
Seems like an amazing kid. The moment for me of the night was there was a timeout in the 4th quarter, and they have 16 kids on the team.
Yeah, they have a number of kids.
A lot of kids. And of those, 7 of them are never going to see the floor. And Coach Adams is trying to talk to them, and he's talking to the core 9, right? And Adam Miller, right in the middle of the timeout, leans back, looks at the guys over here who are kind of having their own conversation. He goes, "Pay attention, y'all." Man, I love seeing that kind of leadership out of a guy.
Because, the truth of it is, odds are you're correct, they'll never see the floor, but what if?
What if?
I mean, there's fluky things happen, so yeah, you got to know what's going on.
And I listened to a lot of what Nick Irvin said, and he's pretty dead on with his assessment of what was happening. And the game really came down to, at the end of the day, it came down to an Adam Miller 3-pointer that
was halfway down.
That was literally halfway down. It would have won the game, and it popped out. So Morgan Park, legit 3A contender. I don't see anybody touching them. But let's talk about the Collinsville Jayhawks. Darren Lee, I think, has had a good career there. This is a guy that at Nashville owned the entire town. They loved him there. He went for the bigger job at Collinsville. I don't think to this point it's been...
One regional, I believe.
They've won one regional.
And I think he's been there 10 or 11 years.
Bevel West, it's longer than that, I think, but Bevel West has won 2 state titles. Right. And, I have always considered Darren Lee one of the best tacticians of the game in the area.
I agree.
But he hasn't had the players. He hasn't had the bodies that he needed. Well, now he's got them.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, did they play well. And they did not back down from Morgan Park. The Taylor kid that's going to SIU Edwardsville, we both looked at him and we thought, man, you're a little out of control. But, man, he finishes a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he does.
And then when he started to get 2 and 3 guys on him, he was dumping off. 41 on the inside was fantastic. They're a really good basketball team.
And they've got a little bit of everything. They've got Taylor who can create and go to the bucket. They've got some outside shooting. They've got an inside presence. They play good defense, and Darren is a great coach. So I mean, they're going to be a handful.
There is nobody south of I-72 that is going to touch Collinsville, in my opinion. And I know that O'Fallon played them tough, but the fact is that this Collinsville team, that was their big test.
I agree.
You played Morgan Park, who just won the preseason city championship in Chicago. They are amazing and should not be in 3A, no offense. But in 4A, Morgan Park challenges for a state title.
Oh, without a doubt.
Easily.
Yeah.
They've got kids sitting on the bench that would be starting anywhere in the state. And it was so much fun to watch. Nick Irvin is kind of a polarizing figure. He was the one that complained about traveling 400 miles or 4 hours to get bad calls.
Yeah.
I love that the official looked at him and said, so? I mean, I've had enough of your crap.
Right.
But he is, I have respect for Nick and what he's done in Chicago. I'm not a big fan of the open border thing. I've said that numerous times. But what a fun game that was, and congratulations to Collinsville. You don't need my respect at the end of the day. Who cares what JT and Scott Warren think? But you've got it, and you're going to be in these shootouts coming up.
Well, there's been plenty of years we've gone in the past and we've watched not just Collinsville, but some other Southwestern Conference teams, and we thought, oh, okay, that's enough of that. I'm happy to go see Collinsville play again.
Yeah, Rayshawn Taylor obviously is worth the price of admission, but the other kids are really, really good. It's a fun team to watch. Hand me your program for a second, because I'm not gonna let this program, this show.
Something, Colin?
Yeah. So Coach Dave Hopper tweeted at you. Which is why I brought
my buddy
this up.
Dave.
Chicago schools without boundaries should not be 2A. He tweeted at you.
No. Okay, and Dave, you're right. And here's the deal. Here's what we heard. We were up at state last year when Chicago Orr won their 3rd straight 2A state title. 3 in a row.
Correct.
And Lou Adams, their head coach, sat in the media room and said, this is it. We're done in 2A. We're moving up to 3A. Well, then he has some defections. He had some kids that said,
yeah,
I'm not coming back.
He reaped the benefits of it. Now he got the spoils of it too.
And so they've decided to stay in 2A. And I guess they could have petitioned the state and moved up to 3A. I agree with you, Dave. It is equivalent to the private school thing that we have down here. It's aggravating. I don't like it. And I totally agree with you. And I've talked to Dave many times. I have great respect for Dave Hopper. And so thank you for tweeting that. Real quickly, I want to call out a couple of kids that we saw play the other night. Kadrian Jones, that's number 41.
He was a handful inside.
I love that kid. Laurent Zaladini, I'm going to have to learn that name if I'm going to be a PA guy, did not leave the floor. That's number 32. The kid didn't leave the floor. Didn't fill the stat sheet. The real deal, I'm telling you right now. Go out and see them play. You've got the holiday tournament coming up. You are listening and watching the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by that guy. You know, the fact is that for most of us, our homes are our single biggest investment. And when something's wrong with your home, there's nothing quite that can replace that sick feeling in your stomach. If you have water leaking into your house, or if you have a crack in your wall and you've got any concerns about it, Be Dry Basement Waterproofing will make that sick feeling go away. Free estimates They do crawl space work. They will seal off your crawl space to keep odors from getting up into your house and moisture. They do piering. They do anchoring. They do just simple crack repair and egress window installation, a little bit of everything. Give them a call at 1-800-966-2379 or visit them online at bedrysolutions.com. Tell them that you heard about them on the 618 High School Huddle, and they'll give you a special discount. Be Dry Basement Waterproofing. Nobody does it better. Protect your investments.
Breaking news.
We are back. Welcome to segment 3 of the 618 High School Huddle. First of all, it's probably the most interaction we've had with Dave Hopper jumping in, John Copper. Folks, this is the stuff that really keeps us going, and we appreciate Matt Powers, who kind of liking it. Oh, yes, and Jenny also.
And she's just coughing.
No, she wasn't. That was her looking for attention. Either that or she may have just choked on something.
She might be dying.
I'm sorry, the dog's up there.
No.
The segment 3 here, we've talked about the Morgan Park Collinsville game, amazing. The Pinckneyville Chicago War game. You took in your first high school bowling match this week.
I did.
Share your thoughts.
It made me feel good because I look like I was out there sometimes.
You could be a high school bowler.
I could be a high school bowler. I could.
Let's give a shout out where shout outs to Austin Bernard, the kid from Jabot. Nice player. Kid can throw it. He's really good.
Yeah.
What we've learned is that Westland, very good team. That night was that the night you were there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're crazy good.
They've got 2 kids that throw it with 2 hands. And it looks like they're having some sort of seizure.
Yeah.
Like that little Nas X or whatever that just died. What?
Nothing. Never mind.
Why is that funny? Some dude died. Okay, tell me it's not little. Who's the dude that died?
Juice WRLD.
Juice WRLD? Okay, so Juice WRLD. Now, by the way, let's talk about that for a second, okay. Juice WRLD. Okay. We all sat here all sad the last time we did a show about this poor guy having a seizure. Well, he swallowed about 800 Percocets, and that's what caused the seizure.
Right.
So he's a piece of shit. Garbage.
That seems a little extreme.
You think it's okay what he did?
No. I don't think calling him garbage, though, because if we want to put this in context, we just had a conversation about Artie Lang before he came on the podcast.
Is Artie Lang still alive?
Yeah.
Is Artie Lang producing content?
Yeah.
Is he funny as hell?
Yeah.
All right, enough said. Have you seen Beer League?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Seen Dirty Work?
Yeah.
Him and Norm Macdonald?
Yeah.
All right, enough. Artie Lang is a survivor.
We went off the rails somewhere.
His dad fell off a ladder while he was stealing cable. No, but the point is, what was the point?
I don't know.
Bowling. Yeah, these guys throwing wow, how did I get to that?
That's what I said. We went off the rails real quick.
I don't. Because he said something about Lil Nas X.
Well, it makes me want to do nails off the rails.
I
lost my teeth. No, these kids, they grab the ball, they two-handed, and it looks like it's going to go off in the gutter, and then it spins back, and the pins just explode. It's crazy. And Waterloo, also very good bowling team. They won the Columbia Kegler Classic, because I'm paid to know stuff like that.
There you go.
Know that.
I did not know that.
Paid the big bucks.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, so you got to experience the bowling thing.
That was fun.
And we had a good time. And then we went straight from there. Well, we didn't go straight from there to the Waterloo Freeburg game.
No.
We pre-gamed
Yeah.
at the West Park Saloon. Wonderful place, by the way.
Really?
I speak very highly of their draft, because on draft they have Bud Select.
Yes, they do.
It's kind of a big deal. But then we went down and watched Waterloo and Freeburg play. Again, it is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about where we're headed, and then I've got a really good story. Well, not a good story. I've got a story to share. We are going to do our first, is it a tailgate?
I'd say it's like a road show.
We're going to do our first road show.
Live show.
Our first live road show Friday night.
Yeah.
Mater Day, because Mater Day.
What time were you thinking we're going to do that show?
5 o'clock.
Probably,
Okay,
yeah.
It's going to start.
Yeah, because I'm done with. I get those finals out of the way. I can get out of there a little bit early. We're going to head up there. We're going to have Wally's.
Give ourselves enough time before the
5
JV
o'clock
game.
Friday.
I think 5 o'clock Friday. We're going to hit the air, and I'm anxious to see Shattuck and Zerlini and Napavanis, who's had a couple of really nice games for Mater Day.
He sure has.
They're playing the Jabot Hawks. It's going to be a tough night for the Hawks. They're going to have to really play well to stay in that game. And we're looking forward to it. It's going to be our first time broadcasting live indoors.
Right.
We're done freezing.
We feel pretty safe that we're not going to set anything on fire.
Let's hope not.
So
Corey will be there to help us out.
For those people listening at home, they're going to be watching that Pinckneyville game. If they want to comment something to you or they want a question answered, how would they best go about having that done?
What Pinckneyville game?
Oh, you just said Pinckneyville.
No, you just said Pinckneyville.
You said Pinckneyville.
Where am I crossed up here?
Well, we're seeing Mater Day and Jabot.
Friday. Okay,
Friday.
wrong.
Pinckneyville's later.
Yep. Okay, I had it wrong. I'm sorry. We talked about the schedule.
We're going to drug test you.
Excuse me.
Yeah, right.
This is our boss.
All right.
Yeah, well, no, it's going to be Mater Day and Jabot. We're actually going to see Jabot back to back because the following night Jabot will be hosting Waterloo in a game for the ages.
Crosstown rivalry. They play every year, right?
Yeah. Okay. Be a lot of fun. And that one you can't stay because your daughter's flying back in from, where was she at, Africa or something?
Spain.
Well, whatever. Same thing. It's all over there.
Close enough.
So we're hopefully Colin can join us. We're going to try to do a show from there. That might be alumni band night.
At Jabot?
It might be. You know, they do that during Christmas break.
Yeah, but usually it's after Christmas break because right now there's still a lot of schools that are still getting out of session.
It's December 21st. Everybody's done.
Right.
You think that might be in January?
It usually was the first or second week of January.
Oh, okay. I could be wrong. I don't know anybody there at the school, so I can't say.
I mean, I just.
Oh wait, no wait. I worked there. I worked there.
reputation
Yeah, I should know.
and Having participated in that for 4 years, but you know.
Good point. You have more history there. So that's what we've got coming up. We are also going to be obviously live at the Highland Shootout. We're going to do a show early. That's going to be like an 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning deal because I have, for whatever reason, accepted the assignment to do the PA for games 3 through 8.
Good
there
for
will
you.
be content that day, though. We'll be
The last time I did games 3 through 8, it was interesting.
But we talked about doing stuff though that day still.
Yeah, it's going to be that to me it's the greatest event.
Yeah.
In the Midwest, Matt Powers, the work that him and his staff put into this thing. No offense to the other shootouts, they're all great, and I'm probably talking myself out of a job with the O'Fallon shootout, but it's amazing. And O'Fallon is phenomenal too. But this year's Highland Shootout, they sold more tickets day one than they've ever sold. And this is a shootout that featured Jason Tatum versus Jordan Goodwin. My pick for All-American Guard, by the way.
And that's on the 11th.
That's on the 11th.
And the 10th.
10th, we're going to be at Nashville.
We're going to be in Nashville.
We're going to see Nashville and Pinckneyville and Assembly Hall. Not Assembly Hall in Champaign.
No.
The real Assembly Hall, the one in Nashville. And then apparently we're going to be back watching that again in February. We'll be down in Pinckneyville for a game. So we've got a lot coming up. We hope Colin will be able to join us. And at some point we got to go back to Mascoutah and see Scott Battis there. Dustin Battis, I just friended him on Facebook, and you know, here's his story I'm hearing about Edwardsville is they can flat out shoot the basketball. So anxious to see Edwardsville play, and we've got a lot of things coming up. I want to wrap tonight's show up with this story. Jacksonville Route High School. You ever heard of them?
Is that where I don't know, but is that the bowl? Is that the same school that's attached to that, or is that just a...
No, that's Jacksonville High.
Jacksonville High.
This is the private school in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay.
An amazing baseball program. I mean, amazing.
Right.
On Friday, and this was November 25th, so right before Thanksgiving, Jacksonville Route High School baseball coach Bob Lonergan learned on Friday that he has been fired from his position. He did not comment, but here's his record: 246 and 119. Well, he had a tie in there in 12 seasons. He won the 1A title in 2008. He won 4 sectional titles and 9 regional championships. Last year, they were 26 and 3. They lost 11-7 to Glassford Illini Bluffs in the Minden Unity sectional. That's the team that Jabot absolutely took apart at the super sectional up in Springfield. He has also been removed as the junior high baseball coach at Our Savior High School in Jacksonville, which concluded the fall season 20-2, and they were the Class 1A runner-up after they lost to Champaign St. Matthew.
So there's a hook coming.
Do you venture to guess why he got fired?
Do I want to venture to guess? Is it going to be that kind of inappropriate?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, so you think it might be inappropriate behavior?
That was the best.
Maybe a DUI.
I mean, something that the media seemed pretty serious.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Good stuff.
Yeah. If only that were true.
I was right. It doesn't seem like that's the case.
He yells at kids.
What? Would you like to clarify that?
He yells at his players. He also says that his players should be accountable.
And this, for a baseball coach, came up in November, late November?
Parents had a problem with that.
Well,
this seems like an odd time of the year.
A couple of parents had a problem with it.
Right, but why is this the time of the year to take it up, right? I mean, it seemed like it would either come up in baseball season in the spring or earlier in the fall, or mid-season.
No, he's done. It has caused a firestorm in Jacksonville, and I'll tell you who I'm going to call. I'm going to call Justin Fuller, the athletic director at McMurray, because Justin's very involved in Jacksonville, and I want to hear what he has to say about this.
Podcast.
Everything. Oh, Justin would jump on this podcast and say he's also a basketball official, a very respected basketball official.
That seems like it'd be a good
Justin he's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. Lonergan, by all accounts, is old school, and the board has stated that they don't want old school.
Look, it's where we're at today. We've talked about this a lot in various forms. It's a travesty. It's a couple of parents complaining because their boys didn't play or didn't play enough. I mean, so the reality of it is, once a public or a private school lets the parents know that they can wield the stick, they're going to wield it, and doesn't matter what you've accomplished in your career. It doesn't matter how many kids. By the way, the article that was online that I read, there are kids that have yet to come through the program that are disappointed that they won't get a chance to play for him.
Like they were going to Jacksonville route
to play for him.
Right.
Because they wanted to be part of his deal.
Here's what doesn't make sense to me, and maybe this is just a use of, I guess, hyperbole when they say that they don't like things old school, or when you say that they didn't like things old school. Because I feel like new school is actually, they're a lot worse about the yelling. And maybe it depends on what level you're talking about. With like in my experience with like select programs and really high school programs, I mean.
But now you're talking about two different things. Okay.
Well, fair enough, but still, I mean, it doesn't seem like the yelling is ever really been a problem. It seems like that's the demonstrative, like really making a point to act like you're getting on your kids. Seems like it's become more common nowadays to me. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misreading it. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this, Colin. So they had this big board meeting, and here's a picture of a parent
talking to the board.
Talking to the board. Things were upheld, and the Route Catholic's bylaws are clear that they will abide by the Catholic Church teaching and policies set forth by the Diocese of Springfield, Illinois. After a joint meeting between the diocesan officials and the Catholic School Board where the policies were discussed, the decision was upheld to dismiss Lonergan. Now, of course, they can't talk about this in public because, I'm sure it was in some kind of special session or whatever.
They should all be embarrassed, and the sad thing is they're not.
Trevor Leahy, a Jacksonville resident, said during the open session that he supports Lonergan and his passion for baseball. He's known him for 32 years, and I guess Lonergan works for this guy's company.
Oh.
This man has nothing but passion for Route High School and baseball. And according to him, Lonergan reached into his own pocket and paid for hats, baseballs, and even bought uniforms for the team.
Good luck with
out
the
of
next
his own
coach,
pocket.
Ed.
And those are not things that an average coach does, it says here. He teaches the boys respect, discipline, and honor. He taught them to respect the game and play it the right way. And then there was this social media firestorm. Clint Vineyard, an umpire who has officiated route games, says that Lonergan has always been professional when associated with him. He has been nothing but class. Nothing but class. When I started umpiring, there were situations where he could have unloaded on me. But he knew I was green, so he let me know quietly what I did wrong. He had nothing but respect for me since then.
That's
Now-
hard to understand. I mean, it's really hard to wrap your head around what
Correct.
the logic is there.
Correct. There is no logic. That's why
Right,
it's
yeah.
hard to wrap your head around it.
But I also, the Catholic Church part was weird. I didn't understand that, but maybe.
Well, I just think that's because the diocese it has to be involved in the
in the
dismissal of
decision
any
making.
coach.
Oh, okay.
The fact is that I'm going to go back to tie this into our first segment. We sat with these officials during our break at Edwardsville yesterday, and I brought up a couple of names, and these are names you've all heard before. I was fortunate enough to work with Paul Lusk Sr. and Gary Mauser, and they all laughed when I brought that up.
Yeah.
And they said those guys could not coach today. They can't. And I would argue that a guy like Mark Vogel, who has been on our show,
Has he actually?
I must have
Yeah,
missed
I was
that
gonna say, I
episode.
must-
yeah, it was like it was like our third or fourth show. He was our
It's
guest.
actually been twice now that you mentioned that.
We mentioned him.
Was he not here?
No, he wasn't
He's the title of an episode, actually.
here. Yeah, he is.
Well, I thought he was. Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Wow, I thought he was here. Do you think Mark's an old school guy?
Yes, I mean, and here's what we talk about when we mean old school. Again, accountability, play the right way, do what I tell you, and we're all good.
You ever seen him get angry?
Sure,
Has he ever yelled at a kid?
once or twice.
You can't do that. If the Jacksonville Route School Board were in charge of Waterloo baseball,
He'd be out.
gone. You ever see Joel Hawkins at Highland yell at anybody?
Yeah.
See, but here's my
Don Eddy? But you know what Don Eddy has to do? No offense. Don Eddy has to win. You know why? Because the athletic director at Muscuda wants his coaches to win.
Huh.
Here's my question though, because this goes back to this, like, labeling it old school. I feel like there is two different ways that that's perceived. To you guys, I feel like old school means doing things the way that you guys grew up and the way that you've seen become successful and the way
Yes.
that you respect.
Correct.
I mean,
And I think that there's also a grouping of people out there that look at old school as people that are unwilling to change. They use, I mean, this is a little bit broad, but it tends to refer to people that cuss or that use language that I would say is not very appropriate for high school settings, stuff of this nature. Do you feel like sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle? Because I don't know if this is a guy that would have been Paul Lusk Sr.-esque in terms of what you've told me about him, where it's just kind of no concern given, I'm going to do it the right way and the way I believe is right. If you've got a problem with that, fire me and let's move on. I think that nowadays there's a difference between what old school means and to a lot of people. And so when you throw that word around in conversation, it's kind of hard to pin it down because, like, I don't know what this guy
Yeah.
What does old school mean? I mean, was
and,
he
with,
like a...
and with Bob Lonergan, I don't know, because I don't know this guy at all.
Right.
What I will tell you about my experience with old school coaches, some of them use colorful language.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Which is frowned upon, I would say, more so now today, too.
That's a shame. Do you think kids see colorful language on YouTube?
Maybe once or twice.
Do you think, what about in the movies?
Yeah, or just in general conversations
What
they're
about
having with their
TV?
buddies.
Right. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've seen coaches do that. I will say this, Mark Vogel, who's been a guest on this show, does not use foul language. He's not that guy.
He's got a short memory.
He would let Mark come on, wouldn't he?
Well, one would think.
Anyway, Mark's not a cusser.
Yeah.
He gets angry, no doubt. Holds kids accountable, kicks kids out of practice.
And then also, though, so that's the thing, I guess, too. You don't have to cuss. You don't have to do stuff like that to be old school, but to also be kosher. And
that's my point. Do you think Dennis Reeder's old school?
Yeah.
Does he cuss?
No.
So cussing is not old school.
Cussing actually gets you in trouble.
Right. So I don't think cussing is old school.
But I think there's that perception that that's what old school means. Like, I think people, I guess my point is, I think certain people take too much liberty and say that old school means, you know, you can cuss and say whatever you want to the kids.
That's fair.
Make them run through the snow because they messed up or something like.
I think that's okay.
Right, but I think nowadays people don't look at that as that's right. And I think that there's a difference.
But why? I mean, because here's the thing. This can be stopped. This route could have stopped this, and they chose not to. They could have said, "Look, we've got a coach here that we're very comfortable with. He's been here for what was it? How many years?
12.
Okay, so
state title.
Right. So at the end of the day, we support our coach. If he says your child isn't good enough to be on the field, he's not good enough to be on the field.
Wait a minute. The select coach for the Slammers said that the kid should start.
I don't care.
I made that up. I don't know.
No, I thought you actually.
Right.
Oh, God.
No, I'm just saying it.
I thought so.
But that's what the parents. No, that's what parents say.
What the parents are going to say.
Their select coach said they're great.
So at the end of the day,
these select idiots.
The superintendent,
I used to be one.
The board, the principal, if it's a private school, the board can stop this immediately, and they choose not to, and that's where I place the blame.
But there's also this environment, I guess, of like specialization where, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, but kids playing less than, or playing one sport, focusing around one sport. And so now it's gotten to the point, and even so, I felt like at times throughout the stories we've talked about, you see this come up with administrative officials, the pressure that's on kids to get good grades and the parents to have their kids get good grades so they can afford college with scholarships and stuff. I feel like that puts administrators in a position where they don't care about athletics as much because they're so worried about, well, frankly, in the state of Illinois, getting funding, one, but then making sure that their kids hit certain academic requirements, that their only concern with a sports coach is that you're not causing them headaches. So if you're super kosher, don't do anything
I disagree.
wrong.
I don't think you could be farther from the truth. I don't think grades have anything to do with it.
Maybe.
I don't think grades have anything.
But I'm just saying, I don't think that the administrative officials care as much about high school sports anymore. I think they're...
Oh, that, okay,
Yeah,
that,
no,
yes,
Right,
that I agree.
They have all these other things.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
was my point. They have all
yeah.
these
So
other
the
things
grades of the
right.
school,
Yes.
right, like how they do on the standardized test.
Right,
yes,
yes.
Yeah.
absolutely. But the fact is that the parents of the athletes, nah, they need their kid to get it back. Give us a follow on all forms of social media. We're very, very active, of course, with Twitter, which is at HSHuddle618. Please give us a follow. We love the growth that we've had. It's been wonderful, but we want to continue to grow this, and we want to be your primary source for sports information in our area. You can also check us out on Instagram, which is also HSHuddle618. And I think, is that an @ also, Colin? All right, so an @ on that. Then check us out on Facebook. Give our page a like. It's just 618 High School Huddles. All you have to put in, and you'll find it. You go right to it. And the same thing with YouTube. We're starting to populate that with more videos. And as we're out at these various games, we're going to try to get more interviews and make this a little more of a thorough deal. But you can check out our past episodes also on iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker.com. You can listen to the audio versions of our shows and download them and give them a like. We would really appreciate it. Thanks so much for all of the support we've had to this point. Can't wait to see what the next year brings.